Development, Lesson 13, Part 1. This is going to be the flight seats screen flow video. So in this video, we're going to be showing you how to create a screen flow that will automatically create the flight seats for a particular flight. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, so first thing we want to do is in our app, we're in the flight management application. And what we want to do is we've already created our plane. So here we have a plane. This plane has all of its plane seats already created. So the next thing we want to do is we want to actually create a flight. And we'll create a new flight. So say new. And we want to pick a plane. Right now we're just going to pick our first plane. Give it a flight number. So we'll say 0001 for the flight number. Departing airport. I want to go ahead and depart from Bradley, so it's going to be BDL. The arriving airport, let's go San Francisco, SFO. And then the departing date, I am going to pick, let's say we're departing Monday the 2nd. The departure time, we'll say will be 9 a.m. And the arrival date will be the same day. So again, we're going to go February 2nd. And the arrival time is going to be, well, I know it's like a 5-hour flight to San Francisco. And so 5 hours. Then you have to account for, so you have to do 5 minus 3 because they're 3 hours behind. It's only 2 hours past it, so it will arrive by 11 a.m. San Francisco time. So let's go ahead and find 11 a.m. That looks good. All right, so we'll go ahead and save it. Okay, now one of the things here is in order to create our flight seat, if we don't have a flow that will automate this for us, what's going to happen is you're not going to be able to create, you'd have to create the flight seats manually. And you can see it's kind of a big pain, because now, given that they're like 110 plane seats for plane 0, I'd have to create 110 flight seats, and it's very tedious. So I could go here. I have to find the plane seat for that flight. So I have to say like something like this, plane seat, and then find the right plane seat, and you have to do that, and you have to do that for all 110. It would be very tedious. So we want an automated way of doing that, and that's what we're going to do. So the first thing we need to do is we're going to go over to flows. So we're going to go to setup again, like we did before, and then in the quick find we'll do flow, and then you're going to click on the flows link here. Then once you click on the flows link, we're going to go ahead and create a new flow. So we're going to click on the new flow button. That'll take us here, and here there's a whole bunch of different ones. We're going to create a screen flow. So we'll do that. And that creates a screen flow. And then we can get started from here. So the next thing we're going to do is we need to actually go ahead and when you click on the toolbox button here, so the toolbox flies over, we're going to create a new resource for our toolbox. And the resource type here is going to be a variable. And if you remember from the last flow we created for the plane seats, it's going to be the exact same variable. We have to give it an API name of record ID. And if you remember, it has to be spelled exactly, and the I has to be capitalized. Everything else has to be lowercase. It's not going to work correctly if you don't have this exact spelling. And now the data type is going to be text. and then it's going to be available for input. You want to click on that. And this is going to hold the record ID of the flight. That's going to be the Salesforce record ID of the flight. Okay, so once you're done with that, we'll click done, and it creates your variable, and you're good to go here. All right. Next thing we're going to do is we need to go ahead and get that flight record that's passed by the record ID. So the way we do that is we're going to go ahead and add an element, and this element is going to be it's going to be a get record element. So we're going to go down until we find get records. And this is going to fly open here so that we can start adding labels and API names. Yeah, sorry, the system is being a little slow here. There we go. So now we're going to have the label. We're going to call it get the flight records, flight record. And then the description is going to be queries the flight record using the record ID. All right. So the object is going to be flight. So I can just look this up. There's the flight record. And then down here, this is going to be kind of your filtering condition. So if you were thinking of this as like a SQL, if you're used to using SQL, this is kind of like the where clause for the SQL. So this is where the record ID equals, and then we're going to look at record ID. So this will pull that unique flight record based on the record ID that's passed in. Okay, so right now it's not sorted, so we're not going to change that. We're going to create only the first record, and we're going to automatically store all the fields. So I should do that. One thing we might want to do is we might want to save this, so we'll go ahead and click save, and then we'll use the flow label. Flow label is going to be flight create flight seats. We'll say screen flow to tell what kind of flow it is. And then a little description, we can say creates the flight seats from the plane's seats. All right, to say the least. All right, so we'll go ahead and save that. So that should save there. And now what we could do is, once we have the flight record, and then we can get at all the fields in the flight, the next step is to get the plane seats. So we'll go ahead and do that. And I think we can scroll down here. And we'll go ahead and do a get records again. And then the label is going to be different because instead of getting the flight record, we're going to get the plane seats. And in the description, we'll put gets the plane seats for the flight's plane record. Record. Do that. Okay, then the object is going to be plane seat. Okay, so it's going to get the plane seat. So now we're going to get the plane seats based on the plane that they belong to. And you get that by going down and looking at plane. So we're going to use the relationship field on there, which is the lookup field called plane. And if it equals the flight from the get the flight record, and then we're going to go find the plane there, just down here. Right? And that does it. So what it's going to do is when this get records queries and gets the flight, it's going to store the plane's record ID as well as other pieces in there. So the nice thing you could do is it goes ahead and it gets the flight records plane and stores it in there. So you're going to use that that plane record to tie it to the plane field that's on there. Okay, now since you're getting multiple records, you want to click down here because it's not just the first record, you want to get all the records, right? Because there's multiple records, there's multiple plane seats, and then we're going to automatically store all the fields, so that's good. We'll leave that alone, and we'll go ahead and save that. Okay, now that we have the flight and the plane seats for the plane for that flight, now we're going to go ahead and do what's called a transformation. Now the transformations are a little bit, are kind of this is a newer element that you can add to your flows, but they're very powerful. So let's go ahead and get started. So I'll create a new transform. And what we'll do is we'll go ahead and throw some label in here. I'll say transform plane seats to flight seats. Okay, because that's what we want to do. And what this is going to do is it maps the plane seats to their respective flight seats. All right, so we're going to do that. So the first thing we want to do is with this mapping that your transform does is it's going to transform the source data, which is going to be this plane seat records, into a target data, which is going to be your flight seat. So first thing you have to do is you have to grab your source data, and that's going to be the plane seats from the get plane seats get records element. So let's go ahead and do that. So we want to look at the resources, and again you want the plane seats, so you want this record collection variable because we want to grab the plane seats because that's what we're mapping. So I'll go ahead and do that, and then as you can see, it shows all the fields that are returned by that query. So these are all the fields on the plane seat record. Okay, so that's that. And then the second part is the target data. Target's a little different. You have to give it basically a data type, and the data type is going to be your flight. So here I could say, I'm going to have to look this up. Oh, I'm sorry. This is going to be an S object. So let's see. The data type should be a record. Okay. It's not going to be, oh yeah, and then you're going to have to choose allow multiple values because there's going to be multiple values here, and then you're going to have to create map them to multiple values here. And then the last thing is going to be the object, which is going to be the flight seat. All right, so I could see that. And now then we're going to create it. So when you hit create, it creates this box all the way over here. And now what you have to do is you have to go through and map certain fields. So the first thing is the ID field of the plane seat is going to get mapped to, oh, that's the other way around. You're going to map the plane seat here to the ID here. And then the plane seat here. Let's map that. There we go. Yeah, you have to click it once here on ID and then click it to wherever you want to map it. All right, so the first thing is the ID. Second one you need to get to is, see, we got the flight. Oh, yeah. And there's another piece of data that we need to also add. And, well, first let's do this. And then the other thing was the seat price. We want to make sure the seat price comes over. So we'll click seat price and then click on here. And then we're done. Okay. Now the other thing is I want to add another piece of source data. And that's the flight record. So we need to add that piece of source data. So we'll go ahead and we're going to get the single flight record. I'm going to grab that. And then now if I scroll down here, I need to grab the ID from the flight record and scroll this up and link it to the flight lookup, which is this flights __C. So we're going to click on that, and that's going to connect both of those there. Okay, so now we have these. Now that these are all connected, I think that's it. Because I don't think there's anything else that we need to connect. So there really wasn't much to actually connect in this example, as you could see here. But it's very powerful in that based on the flight and the plane seat, it'll create the flight seat record and link all the different fields, grabs the data from the fields over. And this is much easier. Back in the old day, you had to use like assignment statements all over the place, and it got real complicated. This simplifies things a lot. So I'm going to go ahead and save this. And now the next thing we do is once we have those flight seats in our transformation, realistically all we have to do now is we need to create the record. So we're going to go to the create records element, because that's going to create our flight seat records. And then here we're going to go ahead in our label, create the flight seat records, and description, create the flight seat records. Yeah, it's about the same thing. All right, how many records to create? We're going to create multiple, and then we're going to go ahead and we're going to get the flight seats from the transform. I'm going to use those. We're not going to be updating because these are going to be creating all new records, so that should be fine. Go ahead and save that. And now we're actually doing pretty good here. As you can see, this is a fairly simple flow. Then the last thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and create the flight seat finish message. And what this is going to be a screen that's just going to really not have much. All it's going to have is it's going to have a label. And what we're going to do, this is for the screen property. And what we want to do is we want to go ahead and find the text. Should be a display text. I believe this is it. Yep, display text. So we're going to add this display text down here. So anytime you want to just display some text onto a screen, you're just going to click display text. And here we're going to say display flight seat finish text. And the resource, here the nice thing we're going to do is we're just going to display a message. The flight seats have been created. And what we want to do is probably want to just highlight that, and maybe we make it bold. There you go. Seems kind of small. The other thing we could do is maybe make it a little bigger. Maybe make it 16 maybe. Yeah, or we can make it 16 or 18, something like that. Okay, some of the other things I want to do is I want to kind of remove these buttons, because these buttons really kind of don't belong here. But before I do that, let me go ahead and see if I can put these labels here. So this is just a descriptive label. It says what this screen does. So this is just a create site flight seat finish message. And that creates the API name. Displays the flight seat creation finish message. Right. Now, one thing you want to do is in the footer, you want to show the footer, but we want to get rid of some of the buttons. We want to only have the finish buttons. So you want to hide the previous, and then we also want to hide the pause. So we just have a finish button. And that's it. Go ahead and click done. And then we'll go ahead and save. Alright, so before we end this video, let's debug everything and make sure everything works properly. Now again, if you remember from our last, we're going to need the Salesforce ID of the flight object, and you get that up in the URL. It's this funny number that looks like this. So I'm going to go ahead and just copy that. So I'll do a Control-C there, so I copied it. And now what I can do is when I hit debug here, I can paste that record ID there. It says run the latest version of each flow called by subflow elements. Yeah, that's fine. So I'm going to go ahead and run this. Hopefully this runs. It says one or more flight seat records have been created. As you can see, it did all of these things, create records. Pop this on the screen, so now I can hit finish. And my flow says your flow's finished. So we're done. That looks good. So what we can do now is we can go back to our flight. We can refresh the screen and see if, voila, we created the flight seats. And now if you scroll down, there should be like 100, I think it was 110 to match the number of plane seats. So that looks good. The prices look good. See, we have 200, 600, and 1,000. So that looks good. So I'll go back to that flight, and I think this looks good. All right. So that's it for this video. In the next video, I'll show you how to add the Create Flight Seats button. Very similar to what we did with the other one. But until next time, thank you. And again, if you like this video, please like and subscribe it. And that will really help out. Thanks.